All right, guys, this is going to be my big long video. So this is going to show you step by step how you are going to create a 3D model using your floor plan and your front view. The trick here is you have to use both of them. Don't just try to create your model based on one. You want to use both. So the very first thing that I do on every single model is I create my walls first. So if you notice, even with these big note cards, they are still a little bit too short. So instead of trying to figure out how to tape them all together and all of that, I'm just going to turn mine sideways and I will tape them together that way. So to do that, you are just going to measure from the top of your wall to the bottom of your wall. Now for this, I'm not going to be super picky as long as you have your 90-degree angle going on. As long as it's 90 degree, you don't have to actually measure it, but you should make sure that it is pretty accurate. Then I will cut out, using my ruler first, I will cut out my line. So I'm going to draw just a little line here. And then I will cut out that wall. Before I do this, I need to make sure that I give myself enough space to attach this to the ground. If I cut it right now and then add a little tab and tape it down, my wall will be too short. So instead, I want to use this line as a reference, and I want to give myself just a little bit of an extra space. And we can fold that to give myself a line to cut with. Now I can cut it off. So you can see where my line is, and you can see where my tab is. This is what I'm going to use to connect. So I am going to just fold along this little line that I have. And then that will give me enough space to connect it to my floor. So when I go to tape it or glue it or whatever I do, it'll actually stand up and it'll give me something to attach with. Now, for the sake of this video, I am not going to do my entire model. I'm just going to show you the important pieces. So from here, I would create enough note cards to fill up all of my walls. So I would make sure that I have one this length, make sure that this one would actually stretch all the way across, and give myself this one also. Then I would tape or glue my note cards together into one long piece. Then from there, I'm going to use this wall as my reference so that you guys can see what I'm doing. So for the sake of this demonstration, pretend like I have a bunch of other note cards stretching on either side to create all my walls. Then I would line them up and I would say, okay, on this note card, I want my wall to start right here. And if I had all my other note cards attached already, I could then just take this little dot that I put, fold my note card, and then that would give me my wall right here. When you go to create corners, you actually have to cut this little tab right here so that it lets your wall fold. If you leave that tab attached, you're going to have a hard time getting it folded. So when I go to attach everything, that is going to line up perfectly with my floor plan. And then I would have another wall stretching this way so that I can finish it out. Once I create my wall and I have my folds, I can go in and add whatever's on them. So for this one, it would be my door. So if I were to take from the edge of my wall and draw over until I reach my door, I would already actually have this measured out. For the sake of this demonstration, like I said, I'm going to be cutting a few corners that I don't want you guys to cut, but this will make the video a little bit shorter. So I would measure that out, and I would say it was 1 foot or whatever it is. Then I would put a little dot, and I would put a little dot, and that would show me this is where my door starts. For your note cards are these walls. They are identical. So I would go through and I would measure and I would say, you know, I have a 6-foot door. So I would draw my 6-foot door. And if I had a window, I would draw my window. I would connect those together, and connect my tops. You would be using a protractor for this, so it is more exact. And then I would put my doorknob on. I would already have this measured out. And I would put my doorknob on at the same point. Now, to get my door to swing open, I have to, for doors, cut off this tab directly below my door. The reason for that is pretty much the same reason we have to cut it right here. And that's because if we leave it on, it becomes a little bit more difficult for our door to move. We want our door to be pretty free moving. So if we cut that out, when we glue it down, that gives our door the space to move. Then, very important for doors, you want to leave the attached side attached. It's a really common mistake for people to cut out the entire door and then they just have an open doorway with no actual door attached. If that happens to you, don't freak out, not the end of the world. You're just going to add a little bit of a piece of tape to it, and then that will give you enough that it should still swing and be functional. So I'm just going to cut out my 2 sides of my door, only 2, and then I can fold my door along this crease, and now my door actually swings. So when I go to glue it down onto my floor plan, I now have a door that is measured to the exact spot that it is on my floor plan, and it is a functional door. Notice how when I move this and I put it back, that lines up exactly. Same thing for you. If you want to test it, you can also make sure that it lines up here. If you lay this down, your wall and your door should be the same. Notice how if I put my door here and I close it, it looks identical. Everything is the exact same. You will do this for anything that is actually attached to your wall. So that means things like doors and windows. If you have a picture, I'm going to leave it up to you. You can either draw that on or you can cut out a note card to the size of your picture, draw your picture on it, and then tape it or glue it to your wall. So now that we have our walls built, we have to color them. So before you connect anything to your paper, everything has to be colored. You need to make sure it is all colored. So if I wanted a blue door, I would color this. And you would make it very pretty and not what I'm doing, but it's just a demonstration. And if I wanted red walls, I would color my walls red. And it would be way prettier than this. You would use color pencils or crayons or something. I would suggest using colored pencils and crayons. If you notice, some of those other designs that I showed you guys in class had a little bit of a warp to them. That's because they either used markers or paints, and that makes it really difficult for your note card to stay whole. So if you want it to be straight, you definitely want to use colored pencils or crayons. Once I have my walls completely finished, I can then go and attach them to my top view. Now the catch here is I still have to have your top view to grade. So don't attach it to your real top view. You want to create a new top view and then attach it to that one. Your new top view should be really easy to draw because you already have all of the measurements on it. So you should just be able to go through, measure it, get it out of the way, and you'll be good to go. After you have all of your walls created, that is the point that you can then start building your furniture. I'm going to do a different demo that shows you how to do each piece of furniture, but for the sake of just showing you guys how to do it, I am going to go ahead and just do this table right here in the middle so that you can see how it works. So again, I'm going to measure exactly the same as I would do on my top view. I'm not going to do anything different. I'm going to draw my circle because my table is circular. If your table is not circular and it's a square, you will draw a square instead. Then I'm going to cut out my circle. Again, do this a little bit more precise than I am. I'm just doing it for a demo. Then I would figure out how tall my table is. So I would go back over here to my front view to see how tall it is. Notice how that circle is the same as the top. I would say this is 3 feet tall. So I would measure and say this is 3 feet tall. And before I cut, I will give myself an extra tab. I do not want to cut this completely off. So I will give myself a little bit of an extra tab. And you also need to give yourself a little bit of an extra tab at the top. So when you go to measure, I'm actually going to erase this because I did it wrong. So you need a tab at the top, a tab at the bottom, and then the space in between can be how tall you want your table to be. So mine is actually right there, which means I need a little bit of a different tab. So I will fold a little bit of a bigger tab there. Then I will cut however big I want my table's legs to be. Again, you would measure and protract this. Then I have my little dude that can now attach to my table. So I would attach this guy with glue. I would attach it just like that. And then once it's dry, at that point, I could flip it over and I could put it down on my floor plan. I don't mind if you guys' tables and stuff are not drawn out on your floor plan, but they need to be pretty close. So if I were to take my circle here and then move it, you can see that that's the same on my floor plan as it is in my 3D model. Same way, if I were to hold it like this, it is the exact same on both my front view and my 3D model. Then you would color it, you would do everything you need to do, attach it down, make sure your floor is colored first. That's kind of the big thing I need to stress to you guys, is make sure that everything is colored before you glue or tape anything at all together. So even before you put this leg on your table, you want to make sure the leg's colored and you want to make sure your table is colored. Same thing with your door. Make sure once you cut your door out that you have it colored before you attach it to your floor. Because if I have this attached like this and I go, oh no, I need to color it, and I try to color like this, it's going to be really difficult to color like that, and it's going to cause me a lot of grief. So if you color it before you attach it, it's going to make your life easier. I'm going to record some different videos that show you the different pieces of furniture and different things like that. But this is just a general video to show you the main ways that you're going to go through and build these models. Take a look at the other videos if you need help. And as always, send me an email if you have anything specific.